my name's Linda Cowperthwaite and I started endurance riding about 40 years ago. My auntie has taught all our horses to almost wee on command. Why do we do that is, one, it brings heart rate down and horses trot better than if they had a full bladder. So our horses are very confident in peeing.
I noticed you had a bit of a royal encounter.
I met King Charles, which was totally out of the blue. 1 star in one day will be 100 kilometres, 2 star 120 kilometres, 3 star is 140 to 160. 160 is our championship distance. Because you can't just pick a horse up and do 100 miles, it takes years. And that bond between you, your horse, your crew. In all my 100 miles I've done, I remember them all, and those horses have all been so special. And it's the ultimate bond.
So, Linda, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome.
So for anybody who doesn't know you, could you tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and what got you into endurance riding?
Right, my name's Linda Cowperthwaite and I started endurance riding about 40 years ago. So as a young rider, or even possibly just a junior, when I started, it was very much a family affair and we fell into endurance riding. I think how a lot of people do. There's a local pleasure ride and I went along with my pony and thoroughly enjoyed it. I was totally hooked.
Yeah.
And then my next horse after that, totally hooked on endurance. So it had to be an Arab.
Yeah.
And never looked back. All our horses have been endurance horses and it's opened so many doors for us. We've travelled the world with them and met so many wonderful people and seen some of the most amazing places.
I bet you have as well. So was it any particular person that got you into it, or was it just, that was just the thing to do? Or
it was my aunt Evelyn. She went on a local pleasure ride in Ribchester, Lancashire. She went, "Oh, this is quite good," because she just normally just sort of hacked about. So there was another local one, again in Lancashire, just outside Preston at Broughton.
Mm-hmm.
So she said, "Oh, come along with your pony," who was very much, we just did pony club and bits of hacking, a very sort of average level, a little bit of dressage, a little bit of jumping, pony club rallies, nothing. We didn't sort of win a lot, it was just clear round jumping. So she went, "Come along." I didn't really expect anything.
No.
I think we sort of rocked up. I think it had been very wet. Put our little number bib on and off we went down the road onto the bridle path. And I think that at this point, I'll never forget, and what I was totally hooked. We got to this stream, which was in total flood.
Oh, really?
And we're like, "What do we do?" And I was a bit like, "Oh, what do we do? I haven't got a clue." And this guy came along on his horse and just jumped straight in and swam across.
Really? What was it up to, like, what sort of depth was it? Was it
his horse swam?
You're joking.
Really? And we were like, this is like a Western. What other discipline would you just jump into this stream? So my auntie was just like, being the responsible adult, going, "You can't jump in there with your pony." So she sent me over the footbridge, which was underwater. So I think it went over me because I had long riding boots on. Mm-hmm. And I was just like soaking wet through, and I was totally hooked.
And you loved it.
I was just like, that was totally off the scale.
Amazing.
Everything else, when I've been riding, so when you jump in, it's you know what to expect. But this was totally.
Did you like was it like the uncertainty of it? It's like, oh my God, I didn't realise this was here.
Yeah.
And I'm going over this.
And the horses are going, "We've got to keep going forward." And they loved it as well, going in a little pack. And it was great.
What age were you when you sort of first discovered this?
12.
12 years old, so young.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was totally, sort of quite naughty. I'd never done that. If I'd been out hacking, I wouldn't have just crossed a stream like that. So I was totally hooked.
That's awesome.
So we carried on a few more pleasure rides that year. And then the following year, I think it was me, my cousin and my auntie, we went on our first competitive rides.
So that just going back to those leisure rides, so like how long were they, like distance wise?
They sort of up to about 20 mile.
20 miles.
Yeah. Or 20, 25 mile, or
Wow.
they can be a little bit shorter, sort of depending on what area it's from.
Yeah.
So you'd be riding on local bridleways, some private land, and then we travelled. To me, I'd only ever gone to competitions in Lancashire,
Yeah.
and we're like, oh, we'll go down to Cheshire, we'd gone to Cumbria and into Yorkshire.
Wow. When you said you did the Pony Club, the dressage, and you did a bit of jumping as well in Pony
Yeah.
Club. So, again, just popped into my head. What did you see any difference in the horses when they knew they were going on these pleasure rides, like to begin with? Were they more excited or?
Yes.
Yeah.
My pony, Pepo, he was a 13 hands sort of Welsh
Yeah.
pony, and he'd sort of do all the Pony Club things, and it was fine. But he wasn't sort of bitten by it. He wasn't inspired. But we started doing the pleasure rides.
Mhm.
He loved it,
Really?
and he also loved little chestnut Arabs. So he was a bit of a man. So if you'd see a little chestnut Arab, he'd be like, "Oh, I love
Yeah.
these little."
Did he
So
show off even more?
he was sort of up for it, and we took him. Say he was just a very average pony, and over his career, we took him up to 50 miles, which would be advanced.
Wow.
We did a few race rides.
So your auntie, she'd done it previously.
Just a couple of local pleasure rides.
Oh, so nothing like competitive or
No.
anything like that.
And then she said, look, this is really good.
Uh-huh.
And I think other family members got involved. Even if they didn't ride, they'd be like, oh, well, they might just sort of enjoy driving, and you're going to a different part of the countryside.
Yeah.
And you'd see some parts that you'd never normally
Yeah, I
see. And then you'd meet other horse people. And the men are just like, obviously be other men.
Yeah.
And they'd be go out crewing. So they'd go to a crew point and just spend the time chatting.
You just mentioned crewing there. You mentioned it before we came on, but just explain, what is crewing before we go any further with it.
Yeah, so crewing's basically your backup team. Could just be one person or a few people. And depending on what distance you're doing, you'll get your ride map, and then there'll be various crew points or water points that your crew can go to. So they'll park up, and it's usually if you've done sort of 6 or 7 miles, there'll be a parking area that you'll pass through with the horse. So they'll offer your horse a drink, or what we call slosh bottles,
Yeah.
which are bottled water, or we use the large fabric conditioner bottles, because they've got a handle.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So they'll hold them up,
Uh-huh.
so you can grab them. So rather than the crew sponging the horse down, I'll grab them and just pour the water. So sometimes you'll stand, if we're doing a competitive run, we'll take the water on while we're moving. So we'll just keep walking or trotting, so we can grab a few of those.
So
or we might stop at the crew car. The horse will have a drink, either water, flavoured water, sloppy feed.
Oh, wow.
And they do spot their crew car. Like,
Did they?
Where's
The
my crew
horses
car?
know?
Yeah. If you've got a hungry one, or they're going, I want a drink. And you can tell they'll be licking their lips, and they'll be looking for their crew car.
And they'll be
They've got
like-
a pickup truck, so the back will be down, and they'll have the buckets on the back.
Wow. And they know instantly, like, by the colour of the car. That's mine.
Yeah. Or they'll get to an area, oh, this is crew bit, and they'll be like, looking, where's my crew?
Really?
Yeah. And
That's
they'll
incredible.
spot my husband or the car. I'm like, oh, there they are.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Did they actually do that?
Yeah, they do.
Because obviously I know that they can recognise people, but now they can recognise cars as well.
What have you got for me? if I'm on one of mine, he'll be going, what's in the back of there?
Does some of them go, like, if they haven't brought the correct, stuff that the horse wants, do they turn the nose up? Or?
Oh, they always love someone else's.
Oh,
And
really?
you're like, no, have your own bucket. And they're like, oh, what have they got?
So let me have a little.
Or my horses are always really good, and they're really good at sharing.
Mhm.
So they'll like, oh no, have a bit of my water if you like.
Yeah. Compassionate. He's looking after everybody, making sure. Even at Pony Club level, like at 12 years old, I didn't realise you were that young that you actually got the book for it, and you're like, oh, this is incredible. Do you find a lot of? Are you still involved with Pony Club at all? Do you ever?
Well, funny say my second cousins, they've got their own children now who are involved in Pony Club.
Uh-huh.
And Lucy has sort of devised a sort of pony club sort of relay to try and get them a bit more involved in the endurance. So it was a couple of months ago. She said, at my school, Lancaster Pony Club, we're going to put an endurance rally on. She says, would you guys come down and we'll devise something?
Oh.
So me, Auntie Evelyn, we went down, sort of borrowed our Lancashire ride bibs. The children filled a little vet sheet in, could put their ride numbers on, and then they had a choice. They either went to my aunt, who's really good with the stethoscope, so you can listen to the horse's heartbeat.
That's the thing that the doctors have around the thing.
Yeah. But I was a bit more with the heart monitor. So we have heart monitors.
Yeah.
And it'll take an average reading of the heart rate, and it'll display the heartbeat as it is. So the children had a choice. Then we did a little trot up, pretending we were vets, and then so obviously we couldn't do an endurance ride, but we just sort of sent them. They went round the arena to a checkpoint, and my husband was there, and they had to shout their ride number bibs out. And then we had a sort of mock crew point. So again, when I was saying about the slosh bottles, we were holding them up. So we had them at walk first, and I said, right, let's speed up a bit.
Yeah.
They were trotting, and then we were doing joint ones where I would hold two up until the kids would trot past.
You must have some strength in your 5 litre bottle.
We had empty bottles, I think, because the horses hadn't got warm. So we were just, and then I was like, right, chuck them. So they were like, don't chuck them on the other rider. So they were chucking them to the side, and then they'd trot round again. And then I said, right, pretend you've ridden 30 kilometres now. So we need a bigger rest. So we had a bit of a mock bucket for the horses to look in, which they went, there's nothing in there.
Just disappointment on the face.
And we had one of the other crew members handing out drinks and Haribos for the kids, which they loved.
They loved it.
And then they did into the finish. Then we did another mock vetting. And then to wrap it up, I wanted to explain a little bit more about heart rates. So we had a bit of a chat about heart rates, and because the horse is a supreme athlete. You know, it can go from a resting heart rate of 34 up to over 200 beats a minute. Absolute supreme athlete.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
30 to over 200.
That's at resting up to 200.
Jeez. Wow.
So what we did, we had all the kids lined up, and we let one out individually. And I said, you have a trot or canter round. And then we were sort of taking guesses on what they think the heart rate will be. As soon as they finished, I got the heart monitor on, and they'd come in, and the heart rate was about 100. And as it was dropping, I kept calling it out. Well, I got one of the other children who was on foot shouting the number out, and I think it really opened the children's minds to
how much
the resting heart rate they'd done at the mock vetting would be like 38, 42, to a little bit twice around the arena. So, well, imagine how many times around an arena 20 kilometres will be, and this is how you must ride your horse, because it can only be at a high heart rate for so long. It's not about training, but it's understanding why you train. And if you understand why you train better.
Yes.
And that was a very basic way to introduce the children. And then they were like, wow. And it's how quickly your horse is. The recovery shows your fitness, and that's why you train. So I think the children took a lot away from that.
So this is my question for you is then, when did you find that out?
Probably in my mid-20s. It's usually when a horse hasn't recovered, and you're like, why? Why? When you're doing the bigger distances, why is it not recovered? Or you struggle to get the heart rate down. So is it better to understand it before? I learned it through mistakes. Yeah.
Well, you don't know what you don't know, do you? You know, but that was like a mini trail of, to teach the kids, actually, this is what happens, obviously, on a much larger scale. But did you have any, anyone teaching you how to do these things when you were that sort of age? Or is it just, like you said, I don't know, you've made a few mistakes over
I've made a lot of mistakes.
But did you have anybody teaching you in your family, where to go, like a route guide or anything like that?
No. So now there's a lot more, say you've got the whole social media, there's a lot more research, training. Sort of 30 years ago, you sit down, and there wasn't many endurance books, and we didn't really relate training in any other disciplines to endurance.
Yeah.
Endurance globally has grown a lot, especially out in the Middle East. I remember years ago, we'd go trotting down the road really fast.
Mm-hmm.
My horses now do very little road work.
Why?
Wear and tear on the joints.
Yeah.
On my big competitions, we have very little road work, so I don't need to train on the roads.
Yeah.
It's usually just beginning of the season. I do a lot of training on the beach. Lucky that I've got the beach. Thank goodness. There's a lot more farm rides. It's quality training.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, I used to just go hammering around the roads.
Yeah, but you wouldn't do that now because you've got the information, and that's not the best thing for them when you're trying to go the distances that you are traveling in, that we'll get to, which I'm very, very excited about because I've got lots of questions for that. That was really, really interesting about what you said about the lesson side of it, because you're essentially doing to the kids at Pony Club what really maybe you would have wanted when you were that age, wouldn't you? Because then if you've got all this information, then it's a hell of a lot easier to know what you're doing when you've got the information, as opposed to not having that information.
Yeah. And I think it's a lot easier to access now because of social media. I get many people messaging me.
What are the common questions that you get?
I think people, how do we ride plan? Is our horse fit enough?
Mm-hmm.
And I very much don't overtrain. You'll be surprised. These horses are athletes. If you've got the basis right, your tack fits, the shoeing's correct, you've got a healthy horse, you've got a ride plan.
What's a ride plan? What is a ride plan?
So a ride plan is, if you've got a very hilly ride, you've got to pace yourself. So don't overash your horse. Stick to your ride plan. If you end up riding with somebody, don't let them pull you along too fast. Don't overash your horse. If you've got a ride plan and you end up going too fast, you went, this is faster than I planned to do. Go back to your ride plan.
Yeah.
So if you've got your ride plan, you've got, yes, this is within my horse's capabilities.
Yeah.
And there may be a bit of a blast across a field. Yes, that's fine. But don't, if your horse isn't used to hills, start going up and down all the hills and you think, oh God, he didn't recover from that hill very well. He's blowing a lot, but I'm going to carry on at this speed.
Yeah.
Adapt. Keep to your ride plan. Or if anything, even if your ride plan might be wrong, it's not often your ride plan, you're like, I'd rather finish a competition and go, my horse is well. I could have gone faster than, actually, why didn't my horse meet my ride plan, which I'd rather under ask my horse than over ask it.
That makes sense. But again, there's so many questions that you just said there. Your ride plan. One, who comes up with the ride plan? Do you come up with that, or is there someone do you go to that knows the route? Or
your ride plan is what you and your team decide, and this is at any level. Even if you're doing a pleasure ride up to a 160, you still need a plan.
Yeah.
So you've entered a competition, you're training your horse, and you might base it on your previous competition. Was your previous competition a week ago? So therefore you'd maybe tackle this competition slowly.
Yeah.
Because you've just off the back of another one, or was that weeks ago, and he finished, you rode to your plan really well. So you went, this ride, it's not as hilly, the weather's good, the ground's good, because at the moment we've not had a lot of rain. So you might just go, the ground's hard. This ride's for another bigger competition in 6 weeks. Let's just rein it back a bit. I don't need to prove anything. The ground's hard. Let's save it for the next one. So that's what you base your ride plans on.
So it's something that you make yourself with your team.
Yeah.
So my next question was, so that's how you plan your ride plan. When you said when don't go too fast or whatever. Do you have, obviously horses don't come with speedos and and all the gauges and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So how fast do you actually know? How do you know how fast you're going?
So part of it's experience, because I could probably ride and I'll probably guess what average speed I'm traveling at. And plus through training with the beach, I'm in tune, I'll know how fast my horse can trot, how fast this particular canter is, or the next stage of canter is with each horse. I know they're cruising.
Really?
Yeah.
All in your head?
Yeah. But when I'm competing, I have a GPS watch and I always set it on, there's 4 readings I have on the dial. So I have a time, distance travelled, and I have the other 2 set as speed I'm travelling and my average speed. And that's really interesting because you'll say set off on a phase. So if I'm doing a big race ride and you'll set off on a phase and you'll sort of set off and you're cantering along and you're doing about 17, 18. So the 2 will be set the same.
Is that kilometres an hour or miles an hour?
Kilometres an hour. So
right,
yeah,
okay.
if I'm doing a big race ride, I flick to kilometres.
Yeah.
And I might have a road crossing or a gate to do. And then that's really interesting when you look back at your average speed, it'll drop.
Massive.
And how long it'll take you. So you set off cantering again, you shut your gate and you're back in your field and you're cantering along at sort of 19 kph, but your average might be down at 13 and it slowly creeps back up. And then you might have a road crossing, it drops down again. So it's really good training to understand. So when you finish a phase, you may have completed it at 17, but really your riding speed is faster.
Yeah.
Because I mentioned earlier on, you have a crew point. You'd be amazed. You'll come into one of your crew points and your horse is like, oh, I'm thirsty because you're up at the 80-kilometre stage of your race. It's warm. The horse has a big drink. Your crew are pouring water on and your average speeds drop.
Yeah.
So it's all about pacing.
Wow. Have you always, in competitions, have you always used that technology, or was there times where it just wasn't like a thing to use? Or
when I first started, we didn't have any of that.
No.
We had a wound up watch and we'd set it to 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then the starter would go, and we'd click our little watch in and so it'd just be by the hours. So you'd finish before you get to race riding. Called graded rides, which you have to ride at certain speeds. So there'd be novice, which is a lower speed. Then you move up to open and advanced. So you've got a minimum and a maximum speed to finish within.
Right, okay.
So we were doing it sort of, we might be riding for 3 hours, 38 minutes. So we'd be...
So with the you just said the novice, like the intro, and was it advanced, medium advanced, was it? So what are the different speed categories?
So there'll be novice classes, which can range from 20 up to 40 kilometres.
Right.
And I think, without looking at the rule book, I think it's 9 kph with an upper speed of 15, but you wouldn't be doing 15. No. And then when you finished, you go see the vet and they grade the horse on the recovery of the heart rate.
Wow.
So it's your speed and your heart rate.
Wow.
And you get grade 1, 2, 3, 4 or completion and points awardedly. So you do your novice, then you can move up. So if your horse has done 5 novice rides, you can stay at novice, but then you can upgrade your horse to open level.
Oh, right, okay.
And then it's a slightly faster speed.
Yeah.
And longer.
Oh, wow.
So you can still do the 40 or those same distances as novice, but they're a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And the heart rates are slightly lower. So they're a little bit harder to achieve a better grade. So we've got all these little charts. So it's the speed by heart rates.
That's confusing.
Graded. So basically it's like a time trial. Time trial and then how your horse has recovered. So when you've done the ride at your ride plan speed.
Yeah.
Then you have 30 minutes to present to the vet. So that's where you cool your horse and take your horse nice and calm to the vet.
Yeah.
They take the heart rate, have a feel over your horse, trot, horse is sound, so you've passed, and then they work out the speed and the heart rates and you're given a grade. So these are over a range of distances that are at each competition. So they range from 20k right up to 80 kilometres. So these are not race riding. These are, and often then you might sort of, ride with a friend, you ride at the same speed. There can be 1 day rides, 2 day rides.
Really?
So some of the bigger competition are over 2 or 3 days.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So you could have a horse, you go, I'm going to do an 80 in 2 days. So you'll ride 40k.
Yeah.
An overnight hold. Effectively, because you're still in the competition.
Yeah.
Trot up again in the morning and go and ride another 40k the following day. So there's all these variations, and these fit sort of every type of horse.
Have you ever had anyone going out there doing it on a Shetland or anything?
Funny enough, not so much in the UK, but when we've travelled over to the Netherlands,
yeah,
I've seen a lot of Shetlands in the Netherlands.
It must be quite a bumpy ride if you're going over. Just carrying on. It's quite comfortable.
Yeah.
That's incredible. But we've veered off. So we've gone back to, so the question, the original question is like, what are the common questions that you get asked when you message, or if your auntie gets asked them as well?
Yeah. A lot of, can my horse do it? How do I? So some people are sort of ridden in local pleasure rides and they're going, I really fancy trying competitive. I'm nervous about going to the vets, about this whole vetting. You're not having a 5-stage vetting. The vets are experienced. They've usually done endurance rides before, or certainly some of the panel. There's usually 3 vets, and they're very friendly.
Yeah.
So people will contact me and I'll talk them through the process. Sometimes I've had people saying, I'm stepping up to a competition, maybe my first 64. So within some competitions, the further you go, we'll have a vet check within a competition. So anything, I think it's 50 kilometres or longer, they'll have a break during the ride. So you might ride 30 kilometres and have a vet check and a rest, tack back up again, and then go another 20 kilometres. So you have a midway check.
Wow.
And they're like, what do we do in this? What do I do? So I've had some people come to our stables and I went, I'll talk you through it. There's little tricks and trades, and it's just very similar to the first vetting.
Yeah.
Just as long as you're in charge and have a plan, it'll all go smoothly. You got to practice trotting your horse up for the vet. There's no other, I know eventing do, but you have to trot for the vet, and how you present your horse, and your horse has to trot up for the vet, not canter or walk or what. It does, and that's where you practice. As you practice your dressage moves, you practice that the horse, you present to the vet, you stand your horse, and the calm, and it sounds really daft, but you practice standing.
Really?
For a minute, because they'll take the heart rate for a minute. Wow. And I've got one horse ditto, and I'm sure you know how long a minute is, because if the vet might just sort of put the stethoscope on and just wait maybe 10 seconds for it to settle. And we were at a competition the other week, and Ditto was like, come on, you've had your minute. And I could see him looking around like going, you've had your minute, because I thought, I'm counting the minute as well. He's going, come on, I know what's coming next. So as long as the horse gets used to that routine, there's no problems with practicing that at home. You can get one of your crew members, get one of the kids, get your husband. They can practice using the stethoscope and practice that minute. And then you walk forward. Don't rush into trot, walk forward, and then say to your horse, trot, slow down, turn and trot back, because you're there presenting your horse to pass the vet.
Yeah.
So you need to give your horse every chance to trot well. You don't want to pull it up really quick. It might just sort of trip. The ground could be a little bit uneven.
Yeah.
Because often we'll trot up in a field. So there's all those little elements that new people might not think about, and you practice those bits. You come back, stand, and then the vet will finish the examination. And I say to them, talk to the vet. Say, oh, he's drunk really well. Oh, he had a lovely ride.
Yeah.
They're interested, because while you're out having a great time seeing the countryside, they're stood looking at horses trotting up all day.
Yeah.
So I was like, relax yourself. If you talk to the vet, your horse will go, we're talking. I think horses relax around the human voice.
Yeah.
Often when I'm riding, you're chattering away to your friend and the horses are just like, oh, this is lovely. And they're trotting along. They're admiring the view, listening to us, chattering away.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is there any, again, you're bringing up so many interesting points. You really are. And I've got so many questions, but I don't want to blurt them all out because then we'll just go off on another tangent. But is there anything else that you get, like common questions from people? Is there anything else on that part?
So people ask me about training. And because there's so much out there on training, I've often said to people, don't overtrain. Horses, be careful what advice you follow, because there's a lot of experts out there.
As there is.
And is it backed by anything? They may have been successful, but is their training methods correct?
Yeah. I
tend to stick with backed evidence and say not overtraining and what you're training for.
Yeah.
That comes back to have a ride plan. Don't just look at the ride calendar and sort of, we'll do all these competitions. So my main horse this year, I've got one that I'm stepping up to 3-star, and he probably, unfortunately, we had a little bit of an accident when we attempted our first 3-star the other week. So he's having a bit of downtime now because even though he doesn't need recovery from the competition, because we only covered 70 kilometres.
Only.
But he needs mental recovery because of all the training, the travelling to the competition.
Wow.
He needs to mentally recover.
Yeah.
He's not recovering from the competition. He's having a recovery downtime from all the training. So I'll pick him up again in another couple of weeks and we'll just do a couple of what I call medium competitions, which other people might still think it's a big competition. He'll do an 80k and then we'll attempt another 3-star in August.
So is 3-star the highest level?
Yeah, within endurance, you have 1, 2, and 3 stars. So 1-star, this is international competition. This is the same globally. 1-star in one day will be 100 kilometres. 2-star is approximately 120 kilometres.
Yeah.
And 3-star is 140 to 160. 160 is our championship distance, which is 100 miles in one day.
In one day?
In one day.
Oh,
on one horse.
Wow. So is there anything else that you get questions commonly asked to you before we finish off this section?
One question I get is, I need specialist tack. And I'm like, no, you don't. As long as it's comfortable. I ride some of our horses just in normal GP saddles.
Really?
Yeah.
So nothing fancy.
Nothing fancy. We do have sort of the plastic bright coloured bridles.
Yeah.
One of my horses, Mariday Mister on, I always kept him in a leather bridle just because I think I was sort of a bit sort of superstitious. That's what I started, and he didn't like change. I'll stick with my leather bridle.
He's lucky.
Yeah.
He's lucky. Huh?
Yeah. So we stuck that, but with the amount of sweating, the length of time that they have bridles on, the rest of them ride in these sort of plastic bridles. But there's different types. So all mine have all got different types of bridles.
Oh wow! Your tap room must be massive.
Yes.
Very full.
Yeah. And one good thing with the plastic bridles is it's not as much leather tack cleaning.
I like maintenance with it.
But one specialist bit of kit I do recommend to people is your stirrups, your pedals.
Go on, tell us why.
Because your ordinary stirrups are quite narrow, and when you're in the saddle for a long time, you want a wider foot. So then it's comfortable on your foot. If you're in pain on your foot, because that's where all your weight is.
Yeah.
So I said there's an array of different stirrups out there, but you need one for your feet.
Yeah. Which ones do you use?
I've got an array of different horses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Different stirrups. So I've got all different types.
Jeez.
And I have trainers with heels on, so I can just ride in normal stirrups or open toe. But with endurance, we have stirrups that they call gated stirrups.
Right.
So you got a stirrup, and they'll have a sort of mesh or covering over the front, so
Mm.
you can ride in your trainers.
Oh,
So you
wow.
might jump off, have a little bit of a run. People have got their favourite trainers. So it's about comfort. If your feet are comfortable,
Yeah.
you'll ride better because you're in the saddle for such a long time. And that's one thing. The only specialist, if you want to start, is your feet and your stirrups. Because if your stirrups are wrong, that can affect your ankles, your knees, and then your whole balance. And then that'll affect your horse.
With your shoes as well then, so what do you usually like riding? Like if you're going on these 3-star, sort of rides, what would you have in your feet?
So I've got these trainers,
Yeah.
which are very lightweight, waterproof,
Mhm.
and they've got a slight heel,
Mhm.
sort of I think it's 7mm heel. So I don't have to ride with the gated stirrups because I personally don't like riding with those. I like to ride with open-toed stirrups.
Wow.
But I say I have different types of stirrups.
Yeah.
And I might change mid-race.
Really? Do you have like a...
So at one of the vet gates, I'm going to change those stirrups. This horse is pulling quite a lot today, or...
Yeah. When I was doing my research on you, I've got a list here. You've had a lot of horses over the years.
Yeah, I've been very lucky.
Yeah.
And I think because my whole family are into endurance, we do change horses.
Yeah, yeah. You share with... You share?
We have, yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I think I can't say one horse because I love them all and they've all been brilliant competition, all at different levels. I did have a fantastic mare, Siberia, back in the 90s. I wish I could have her again. She was super competitive, beautifully crabbit bred Arab, but I knew so little then.
Yeah.
And she was so talented. I probably rode her too fast, too soon. It probably didn't have the right fitting tack. And she was so competitive. She encouraged me to let her go fast. But she was endurance national champion in 1993. She was the first horse to take me around the Golden Horseshoe. We did quite a few multi-day rides on her. I never achieved the goal of 100 miles in a day, but she'll always remain special for me. Because after she was national champion, I saw an advert in Horse and Hound. This is all before social media. Competition out in Qatar in the Middle East. Festival of the Horse. We're looking for marathon horses. Endurance.
Yeah.
So the marathon was 25 miles. Easy peasy. So we applied.
Oh, wow.
And we got offered a place. So this race, I think, was in 94, 95. So we did our little CV, typed our little CV out, and we got a letter back. So I think there's probably about 5 or 6 British horses. So there was a mixture of endurance horses and Arab race horses.
Yeah.
We got our horses flown out.
Really?
To Qatar, which is funny enough because I've flown horses since and travelled to Europe. Back in the 90s, it was far easier than it is now.
Really? Why?
There was no paperwork. Or I think maybe I was just really clueless, but they just went, go to Heathrow and get on this plane. My mum and my granddad took my horse to Stansted. And my mum was on the airport taking pictures. They walked the horse on the plane.
Really?
And then we landed, I think we must have flown from Heathrow, I think, to the Netherlands, to Bahrain, and then from Bahrain out to Qatar. That was my first ever trip abroad.
Wow. What trip? Good trip starting, huh?
So we went and we were out there for about 2 weeks because nobody back then knew the acclimatization of the horses.
Of course.
So they just flew them out there. We were in a European barn in the middle of the desert. So every morning we'd load the horses into the horse box and go training on the race course and then take them back to this aircraft hangar in the middle of the desert. And then we did the marathon race.
And how did that go?
We completed it.
Yeah.
I think towards it, I think we had a vet check. We passed that. But it was completely mental because out in the Middle East, that was the first real introduction to endurance or marathon racing. It was bonkers.
Yeah.
They were just set off flat out. Again, ride plan, pace.
But they just went.
And I started then, later on in the latter part of the race, you were passing loads of people walking.
Because they were knackered.
Yeah. But I do remember, there's one thing that stuck in my mind. It went, your horse must be shod, which is fair enough. No sandals. No wearing of sandals. I'm thinking, why would you ride in sandals? But it was completely crazy. And I think my lack of knowledge and horse experience, I was quite laid back about it. Oh, the horse would fly back. And I think, I can't even remember how we must have flown back into Heathrow. I think my granddad went to pick my horse up. I don't know how they knew when it was coming back in. We've got no emails or mobile phones.
Just saw him on the
And then my horse just appeared back at the stable yard. And then I think about 2 weeks after, someone from the ministry came out, took some blood, and it's all done.
Really?
The paperwork now is phenomenal.
Well, you've just touched on there and the GB team. Can you tell us a bit of the story behind that at all? Or
yeah, it's always everyone's ultimate aim.
Definitely.
Even if you don't get that, if every horse we start competing is ultimately, do we do the 100 miles? Do we get on the British team? Do you get the qualifications that's required? My first experience being on the team was sort of back in the late 90s on one of my auntie's horses, Hamadat. But recently it was a horse, Cracker Tui, who I never expected. He looked the business, he's big, rangy. I say rangy, he's always had weight problems. He loves his food.
Same.
But he would only ever compete in him. He'd just give you enough. He's the most laid back, kindest Arab ever. So I say he'd never sort of have that. All my other horses, a bit of fire in the belly and the competitive. Yeah. He's just like, I'm Mr. Cool.
Yeah.
So you sort of do a pleasure round and going, we're back, food, back home again. And he's for anything for the easy life. We call him a bit of a surf dude because he's that typical Arab mane and he's always flicking his hair about and he's just so chilled. You can put him in front, you can put him behind. It's like nothing's ever too much trouble. But he hasn't quite got that he sort of has a competitive edge, but he's quite chilled about it.
Yeah.
So we did Royal Windsor Endurance just after COVID. And we'd got him very fit. And I thought, well, let him run competitive, but I'm not going to push him. And he was in his cool way. And we did run at a very fast pace, not quite to my plan. So on the second phase, I went, I'm going to take a pull. And the rest of him carried on. And he went, it's cool. Yeah. Off we go. And bless him, he's such a genuine horse. And I never over ask him. So we build up a really good bond. And he'd listen to me rabbiting to him all day long when we're on our own. And he'll just canter along. And he's quite happy, but he looks really chill. But he can really cover the ground. Really? So he looks like he's trotting really slow, but really he's trotting along at 20 kph.
Oh, but it
and
just
he'll
looks so
canter at 23, 24. And he's so chilled.
Wow.
So this particular race at Royal Windsor, when we come to the last phase, I was in 5th place. And I was like, let's see what he's got. And he went, okay, Mum. And he flew around the last loop and we came in 2nd.
Really?
Morning after, he's like, yeah, whatever. And we're like, he just gives me enough. I equally don't over ask him, but he'd never lost any weight. I'm sure he gains weight while he's competing because when we have the veterinary checks, when we've passed the vet, we then go into a hold. It's like a rest period where we sort of pamper our horses. So we'll sort of check the back's all right, check the feet's all right, keep them cool and let them eat. Well, he's like, wow. I'm normally spending 90% of my life on a diet and he's got all these buckets, so he just eats. So I'm sure he must gain weight while he's competing. But after that competition, that was 120 kilometres and we were 2nd. And we're like, maybe he's talented. He's good. So carried on his training. And we did the championship distance, which is 100 miles in a day. And it's sadly in the UK, we don't get as many people doing the bigger distances.
Why is that?
I don't know. I don't know why people don't want to step up to that bigger distance, because it is so rewarding.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we went on the 160. So we probably did the last 8 miles on our own.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, quite happy, listening again to me, rabbiting on. And this was down in Thetford Forest.
Mm-hmm.
So we got ourselves our little ride plan. So within the forest, it's sort of on a grid. So there's quite a lot of turns. So we take our time and I go, canter. And he go, okay. And he canter along and I'd be like, right, slow down. Next turn. So it's all about risk factor.
Yeah.
So doing a big distance, just balanced around the corner, and I just click and he's back into canter. And he's just so genuine.
Yeah.
So I don't race him too fast. We just stay within his limits. Yeah. And he'd go forever.
By the sounds of it, his limits are actually quite high, to
be
fair to him.
Yeah. But I think with him, he'd built up that bond. And this is to do the ultimate distance of 160 in all our years together, I respect him and he respects me. And he did that 100 miles for me on his belly. Oh, and it is so, when you go on, you set off on your last loop.
Yeah.
And I sort of, even now when I go to the competition and do a shorter distance, I still get goosebumps thinking, oh, this is the orange loop. I remember going up to the memorial and then we make our way back. And the emotion, thinking, this horse is doing this for me. We are riding 100 miles in a day. No questions. He went, I'll do that for you, Mum.
Yeah.
And he come trotting over the line, past the vetting, and it's such a rewarding that all those years, because you can't just pick a horse up and do 100 miles. It takes years. Mm-hmm. And that bond between you, your horse, your crew, because your horse knows your crew, and you're all striving to get to that finishing line. And it is hard work, all them years to get to that.
Yeah.
But it'll never, ever leave you. In all my 100 miles I've done, I remember them all. And those horses have all been so special. And it's the ultimate bond. I think it must be like getting your horse round Burley. Mm-hmm. You don't just jump on a horse to get round Burley. You've got to be and know each other inside out. And that's total trust. And they never question you.
That's amazing. I love that. No, I even when you were saying it, I was getting a bit emotional. But the bond with that horse just sounds incredible. And like you said, he's doing it for you as well. Yeah, and he trusts you fully.
Yeah. They don't choose to go and do it, but they do it. Yeah. We don't force them. They just do it. And he looks at it. He's like, I love you, Mum.
Yeah.
And his belly.
Yeah, obviously, I know the feeling. But what you were saying when you're going on that 100 mile ride and you're nattering away. What do you talk to him about? What is it?
We're nearly there.
Yeah, you keep going. Is that what you're saying to him? We're nearly done.
We're nearly there. And I just sort of, look, all this training was worth it. This is why we did all this hard training.
So you encourage him?
Yeah.
Does he ride?
I do sing to him as well.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. What sort of songs do you sing?
I used to sing something from The Sound of Music.
Yeah.
Usually my favourite things and stuff like that to him.
Yeah. And he'll listen and he'll keep. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I like that because obviously you were saying before, I talk to the horses. I don't know what I'd be talking about to the horses if I was going on that sort of distance.
Yeah.
But that's beautiful. And you have a good singer, and
I have a little sing along to him.
That must be magical. There must be magical. There must be period I know it's probably a very difficult thing to do. It clearly is, but there must be periods in it where you're going, "This is just fantastic."
Yes,
the best feeling.
Yeah, I think for any rider to do the big distance, you have to be so mentally strong. And I gained that confidence through all the training. You get that right. We're at this stage. Yeah, we can do this. Yeah, we're at this next stage. Yeah, everything's on target. And there's little bumps along the way. Oh God, the saddle's not quite right. Oh, maybe in training, something hasn't quite gone to plan, but it takes months and, well, to train for a 160 can take years, but it's piecing that jigsaw together. When you get to that start line, I'm picturing that finishing line. I ain't going to get there. I never have a doubt.
Yeah.
I don't always get there. The other week in Belgium, that was a 140. And I'd set the horse up. He was brilliant because you never quite know. Big international race, how's it going to go? Is he going to settle? Is he going to drink soon enough? Is he going to handle the terrain? And I knew I had the horse. He was so happy.
Yeah.
He was being a bit cheeky, a bit too cocky. If anyone come past him, he was, get back.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, stop being naughty. And then, unfortunately, this horse fell badly in front of us.
Ooh.
And when we had to come to a halt, I came off as well. But it had moved his shoe, so it had tightened up, so it was just a little bit of nail pressure.
Yeah.
But to me, it's really disappointing. But my horse was on target. It was just an unfortunate accident.
Yeah.
And these things happen. But next time he'll get it.
You know, you just said, and I quite like a lot of the the mental side of things, and you've just said there you're essentially dealing with quite a big disappointment.
Yeah.
So, like, how is that something that you've learnt to deal with over the years, or is that something that you've worked with someone on, or?
I think it comes back down again to knowing your backup team and how to deal with it. So it comes ultimately back down to your ride plan. Why did it go wrong? Were you sticking to your ride plan? If you were going, and sometimes you have to deviate from your ride plan, because if you're in a race, they all set off really fast. You've got to stick to my ride plans out the back. But I might go, look, I'm going to go with the pack because I've got a big distance. But if you're riding stupidly and way off your horse's capabilities, you out, it's your own silly fault. So between me and my auntie, we're keeping with that ride plan all the time. We're building it together. We're not just picking it out of thin air. It's to do with that competition, that horse, how the training. Is it his first time at that distance? So you stick to it. And if you have a disappointment that often are out of your hands, and why did it happen? It's out of your hands. You stuck to your ride plan. You train the horse the best you can. And the experience that we have, our level is always for improvement. So when we took this horse to Belgium, he had everything. We get more, not necessarily spoiled, but we're giving the horse the better chance. And it just went wrong. But we're like, well, what can we change? And what went wrong, we cannot change. What happened? It was hugely disappointing. And my friend who'd come with me, she was in tears. I was like, don't cry. I'll never be disappointed just after it's happened, because my horse is with me and I'm sure they'll pick up on that sadness. And equally, because I think they pick up on when you've done well and when you're happy. So I look quite heartless. When we were in Belgium, we were out. I didn't see it coming. And my friend was in tears. And she went, you're right, I will be. When we've sorted the horse out, but I remained quite sort of neutral. And I'm privileged to have got to that level with that horse.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of him and my team.
Yeah.
So we sorted him, let him have a little bit of feed because he'd still done 70k, checked him all out. And then when he went back to the stable, then I think I did feel sad. But usually, but it's a good backup crew, you usually have a little bottle of fizz to either celebrate or commiserate. So we all sort of sat there. I think our coffee mugs from the morning, opened the bottle of fizz, and all had a mug of fizz and sort of chewed over, it's no one's fault. We were disappointed. Yeah. And that's when I might cry, feel disappointed, but I never do it in front of my horse.
Yeah.
Because I think they do feel that emotion. And why should they give us everything? Yeah. It's not his fault. Yeah. He trotted up lame.
Yeah, yeah.
I did the best I could by sticking to my ride plan. Why should he feel my sad emotions?
You must have an incredible amount of self-control.
Yeah. I do cry a lot, or it goes over my head. After there's usually a long drive home, so sometimes it can be quite a quiet drive home.
Yeah, just mulling that over.
Yeah.
I think that's normal though. It's like you said, you always like big and 1% gains. You've mentioned it before. You practice standing there, and you have that ability to control yourself so you don't upset your horse. Like I think these little, in reality they're quite big important things, but these little things that you're doing actually amount to probably a good amount of the success that you've had as well with it. Because a lot of people maybe don't do these or aren't capable of doing these little things, or don't even think about them.
It's all the little things. You say standing the horse for the vet, you do that at every level. There's no difference. Still a vet, still do the heart rate at entry level and at championship. So practice that bit.
So do you think all these little things is what led you to get onto the GB team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a very good horse.
Yeah.
He was Mr. Cool, so he allowed me to enjoy the team because he was just like, I'll fly, Mum. And he loved it. He loved going from... It was a very cold February. It was really hard training because it had been so cold for so long. And he flew out to Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
And he went... So they were in quarantine for, I think it was 2 days. It was like, wow, look at this. And then he got to rolling in hot sand. Well, from going from Lancashire mud to hot sand, we're like, will you stop rolling? And he'd just lie out, going, oh, this is great. And then another horse had walked past, and so there was just this like sandpit of rolling horses that had come from a cold Europe. He absolutely loved it. And then he'd go back into the stables. He had the aircon.
Wow.
Oh, and he loved it. He loved the attention. He's a very people horse.
Yeah.
He loved it.
When I was doing my research, one thing that did stick out was you won the Red Dragon and in topping the FEI World Rankings and riding for Team GB. Out of all the milestones, which achievement or ride stands out the most to you that made you think, yes, this is why I'm doing it?
Yeah. So, yeah, every competition is great. All those that you mentioned were all memorable. But the Red Dragon is ride in Wales, for obvious reasons. And that particular year, it was hosting the Home International, which is a competition between England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales.
Oh, controversial.
Yes.
Yes.
So I put forward Newbury's Ditto. It's a horse that we bought just sort of in 2019, and he was actually novice champion, big strapping horse. He's very close to my heart because I actually found him for sale on Facebook, but I used to compete his father.
Oh, wow.
So it's funny how we weren't actually looking for a horse at the time. I think it was fate. We purchased him and he come to live with us. So he's a big lad who knows his own mind, but this was his biggest challenge. So put him forward on the England team for the big class, which was a 2-day 160. 50 miles Saturday, 50 miles Sunday, over some tricky terrain. Yeah. Lots of hills. But he's a bit of a tank. Yeah. He's definitely got good 4x4. So he was picked, and there were 2 England horses in that class, and 2 from all the other countries. So, the first day, I think we were sort of just back from the leaders. We finished with the other England rider, Amy, both horses finishing really strong. Amy decided not to run a horse on the Sunday. So horse's welfare. I think it passed the vetting, but she felt it's a tough old course out there. The horse just wasn't giving her the right vibe. Always another day. So she decided not to run. So I think I set off just behind the 2 Welsh. This was sort of Ditto's first 160s, first ever race ride. So I thought, I don't want him to do the whole day 2 on his own. So took me a bit to catch the 2 Welsh, but it was raining on that day.
Oh dear.
There's Wales up and down some pretty big hills, and it was wet. So we ended up vet gate 1. Everything was fine. He's steady away. He's ditto. Never gives in. Steady away. I think one of the Welsh ladies had retired her horse, so I was with the other Welsh, and then she decided to pull back. So I was left on my own with about another, I think, 45k to do, and then the rain was raining more.
Oh no!
So we passed the last vet check. Ditto was just like, "Where is everybody?" Because the shorter distances had finished, and he had to really dig deep.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, don't over ask him. I had a couple of the Scottish riders behind, but they were quite a way behind. So I was like, come on, Ditto. I don't think I've ever run so much, because there's lots of ups and downs.
Yeah.
He'd go steady up the hills. I'd jump off, run down most hills, just to sort of keep him going.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a bit like, Mum, why are we doing this? And then I think on some of the hills, the mist had come down. And the last few kilometres, it's quite a lot of climbing.
Mm-hmm.
But because it had been so wet, it was really muddy, because all the other classes had already gone before.
Oh.
But he finished. I was so proud of him. And the whole England squad came down to cheer him in. And he was a bit like, oh, this is where everybody's been. He went, I've been out there all day on my own, and they're here. So he was just like, he came cantering over the line, quite happy.
Yeah.
And he is a real big character.
Yeah.
Big horse and big character.
Yeah.
So then we went to Cooling. And he, because he's such a good boy and doesn't mind, I let a lot of the England squad. I think I sat there with a New Zealand rug round me. They're going, you mustn't get cold. So everyone had like a piece of action.
Yeah.
The whole England squad got involved in Cooling, Ditto down. And he's just like, I'm just hungry. I'm just hungry.
Just give me my food. Yeah.
So he's like, give me some haylage. Because it's on the England squad, we've got a vet, and he's going, yeah, his pulse is normal. Let's just let him just get a bit of food in him.
Yeah.
Then went in for the final vetting, the whole England squad behind.
Yeah.
And he trotted fantastic.
No problem.
And I think the lady who we bought him off, because he'd come from Wales, had come down to watch him. She must have been proud. We were proud of him, as was the whole England squad. And he trotted up perfect.
And you won it.
And he won. So his first race, first 160.
Yeah.
And then, so when I got sort of, we'll put him forward again. So last year it was in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
So we travelled over there, and believe it or not, another tough course, a varied course. And he won it again. And he did it even stronger. And I think, as I was saying previously, it's that bond.
Mm-hmm.
So when we did the Red Dragon, he was a bit taken back. He was like, what are you asking me?
Yeah.
But Matt getting off and running and going, come on, Ditto, we can do that.
Yeah.
He's going, okay, Mum. But I was a bit, oh, God, you're asking some big questions.
Yeah.
But we got through it.
Yeah.
So when we were in Ireland, different questions, still asking, got a big distance to do. And again, he was out on his own in front. He was actually the only one to complete the 160.
Wow.
And he come flying over the line. He went, these people over there to cheer me in. But I think it's because we have an even bigger team supporting us. He gets off the saying they love how happy, they like that happy.
Yeah.
Everyone's really pleased with him.
Yeah.
He comes storming over the line.
Like pet me. Like, congratulate
He's like, feed me.
Yeah.
Everyone feed me. Everyone chucked water on me, and everyone was feeding him. And he's in his sort of only he does pull you around a little bit, but I don't tell him off, because he knows what he wants. I want Matt Grass there. I want Matt there. And he'll just pull you to it, but he knows his job. And I would have not, if I'd tacked him up and said, go out again, he went, okay, Mum.
No problem.
And he would have done it. And it's that bond.
Yeah.
He did it for the team.
Yeah. I love that. When you got him, Ditto.
Yeah.
How old was he?
He'd be 6.
Yeah.
And he was a real sort of simple bit of a lad.
Yeah.
No real direction in his life.
Yeah.
No one had ever asked him anything. And we did a novice season.
Yeah.
And he loves, so the novice, we do 10 40Ks through the season. So there'll be a local 40K, and then we might go to a 2-day
Yeah.
So we'll do 2 competitions. We'll stay overnight. And he's like, this is great fun. And he loves to go to compete.
Yeah.
He thinks it's a big trip out, a big party.
Oh, it's exciting for him, isn't it? I imagine. But and so it's he was 6 when you bought him.
Yeah.
And then when you won your first Red Dragon, then how old was he then?
So he'd be 9 then. So he's 11 this year.
Yeah.
So he won that when he was 9.
So it took you 3 years to get him up to that sort of level so you know, my next question is where do you even begin with that side of training? So I assume did Ditto do any endurance before you bought him?
No.
Nothing. So you started off with a fresh blank canvas.
Yeah. So he came to us, and so we've got a novice coming through, but he'll be a novice competitive. And what I like to do, I'll do a season when they're sort of never done anything. I'll do a year maybe of pleasure rides and a bit of dressage and just taking them out and training them a little bit alongside our horses, the competition ones. So they get a bit of a hint to what's ahead.
Yeah.
Because my competition horses are very professional. So they're like, none of that messing around, mate. But I think they learn from them, the attitude. I can train them, but their attitude, because we do a lot of training on the beach. I don't overtrain on the beach. I stick to the same format on the beach. I do it at a different speed. So effectively, I go up and down the beach twice. If I want to do more training, I don't go any further.
Yeah.
I may sort of do a bit of a sort of zigzag, but I'll probably do between 14 and 20k on the beach. But I only turn. So I'll go up the beach and I'll turn once away.
Yeah.
And for Lights a Cracker, because he knows that format, regardless of the speed, most of it might be a very steady trot in early season. And as we're in full training, it may all be in canter. But when I turn to go back up the beach, Cracker's going, we're going home. But we're actually turning from home. But he knows we're going back up for the last time.
Oh.
So I don't want to abuse my beach because it's such a good training ground. So I always use the same format, just vary the speed. It might be I do that when the tide's in or out and the speeds. But when I turn away from home, Cracker's going, we're going home. He bombs back up the beach.
Yeah.
Because then he knows we turn and we're on our way in. But imagine if I'd then changed that and got, I want to do some more. And I turn a second time. He'll be going, what's that about? And they lose that bond, that confidence. Well, how long are we training today? Because it can be very boring.
Yeah.
You might be the only one on the beach. Sometimes I'll take one, sometimes I'll take 2. So I stick with that. So they're always keen.
So they always know.
So they'll fly back up the beach.
Yeah.
So if I've then, and Cracker was very good at that. He's like, oh, we're going home. And he'd get very excited. But he'd go quicker away from home to get home. But then that teaches the other one that. So I can do the training, but I've always got horses at different levels. So they'll teach the novice horse that how you apply yourself to work.
Yeah.
You don't nap.
No.
You don't lean. We've got to get back up the beach because we're going home next. And that's all. It's smart training.
I love that. So is it like, so consistency is a massive thing, I assume. And having it not regimented, but the same sort of, like you said then, the same distance, but you might vary the speed.
Yeah. And then if the tide's in, as a term, we'll go back up the tide line this time. So they'll work a bit harder. We'll do a trot in various depths of water. But I stick to that. We only ever turn back up the beach twice. Sometimes early season, I might only go up and down the beach once. So I don't have to turn. They're fine with that.
Yeah, they're happy.
But I never go 3 times up the beach.
And they know that.
Yeah.
Have you ever done have you done it like 3 times and they've gone, what are you doing?
No,
or you've never tried it?
No, I might go back 2 days later.
Yeah.
But I always stick to that same format.
You know, on like the Red Dragon, the competition that you said about the hills and that. So how do you train for like going up hills like that? Yeah. So steep like that?
So the Ditto's bred for that.
Yeah.
He likes that. He's not a fast horse. But we'll go up to T-Bay. And I like going up to T-Bay, especially in summer. So now where the ground's hard. T-bay's always got a little bit of cut in the ground. So I'm not training on hard ground. So always thinking ahead. In training, I think a lot of injuries at competitions are probably brewing through training, not from the actual competition.
Yeah.
Now there's lots more farm rides available. So early season, we go down to Somerford, have the winter track. They love that. We'll go at the weekend, always busy at Somerford.
Yeah.
So that's equivalent to going to a competition. They're like, oh, wow, there's so much going on. And they're like, it's good to see all the horses. Because if you're training, they don't often get to see all the horses. And I think good competition horses love getting out and about and seeing other horses.
Get excited, don't they?
Yeah.
They definitely do. Like when we go to pony club with our ponies, like they just, you can see it's like, oh, they're interested in what they're doing rather than going around in the arena. Same thing every single day.
And it makes training easier. If you've got a horse that's happy and keen, the training should always be easy. It shouldn't be kicking and hard work. How are you going to achieve your ride plan if you're pushing the horse? The horses always lead my training. And sometimes training, you underachieve it because you think today's not quite right. It's just not quite on it. I'm not going to achieve anything kicking and pushing. You can't force it.
That was going to be my next question is like, what happens when you get those days where your horse is just like, no, I'm not interested in this day. So do you just sort of like let them have the day off or just have them
I'll just sort of adapt it. Maybe just sort of don't push it. Just think, then I'll go back and be driving home going, why didn't that go to plan? Have I done too much beach training? Am I doing too much of this? So we'll just change it. Like Ditto doesn't like doing too much on the beach because he's in fast work. Am I going to again think going trotting down the beach? But he's not a very fast training horse. But I know this weekend we like to go over to Craven Country Ride. Great training ground. David, the guy who runs it, always looks after the going, even when it's hard. And he changes the format. They love going there.
Love it. Sounds like you do a hell of a lot of analysis. You're always thinking about it. It's just something that you just can't help it. It comes in your head. And are you constantly thinking of ways to improve? And do you test things? Do you do a lot of that?
And with my crew, they'll just get random messages. Like, let's try this. We're going to do that. And at the beginning of the week, we'll try and, because often they'll say, we'll make a weekly plan. So this horse is coming back into work. This horse needs this because he's got this competition. Right. What are the tide times? What's the weather? What can we fit in training wise in between normal life, like working and
obviously normal life takes over as well, but it must consume so much of your time. But it's amazing.
But it's a big part of our lives and our families' lives. But I think we're stronger for it.
Sounds it.
And they'll probably get fed up with me rabbiting on. Sometimes me and my husband will go for a walk. Because I still work from home. And when he comes home from work, so if I'm not riding, just sort of need a bit of downtime and go for a walk. Which is basically me getting my words out, talking about horses and what we're doing, and what my next crazy plan's going to be.
Oh, I don't know anybody like that at all.
I think every horse person.
It's a passion. It is, and this is. I've never come across anything like it in my entire life, and it's fantastic with it. But you were saying then about the changes and you constantly testing as well. Is anything come to mind where you've changed something in a test and then applied it to your whole routine for training or preparation? Or
I think I'd listen a lot to David Marland's webinars and read the papers. Horses are athletes and very different to us. I said earlier on, don't overtrain. And horses lose fitness or maintain fitness longer than we do. So I see people, my horse had a week off, get riding. They've probably not lost any fitness.
Really?
And they may have lost skill. or become a little bit sort of wild in the field and disciplined, but they're not losing that fitness. So you got to be smart and let them recover mentally. They're not losing the fitness. And when you bring them back in, as I was saying about the horse, Youre, that's come back from Belgium. I know now he's desperate to work. If I put one of the others out, he's down the field going, I want the attention. Why? I've had months of training and attention about me, and now I'm left. I think you just need a little bit longer. I don't need you back into work because he's out in the field, he's running around.
He's happy.
Don't need to train him. He's got to be brave. I've got to, and that comes through experience, to leave him off for longer because he's healing. He wants that work. And then I'll bring him back in. And he'll probably almost pick up where he left off, but he's being brave to leave them.
You've got to know when to sort of give them that. Do you sort of, like, you know, you say before you said about like having a mental, you know, when they need a mental break. Like, do you see differences in them? Like what are like the things that normal people could pick up on and go, okay, my horse is doing this, so I need to give him a bit of a mental break.
Sometimes you see it in training. You may then change how you're training. Maybe you're asking too much. Because say you shouldn't force the training, or maybe you're doing one thing too much. Or is that, why are they not forming right? Is it because of the body? Is the saddle a bit tight? Is something? How else do they let us know? So I go back and assess why. Is it my training? Is it the saddle? Is something not quite right? And then if I think, the saddle's right, I feel the horse is physically well, maybe I'm just asking too much of one thing. And you say it's about that mental downtime. No, after Belgium's, he's 3 weeks. This weekend, I think it's 3 weeks post Belgium, and he's down at the gate. Put one of those out, he's down at the gate. He was down last night, and he's like nippy, and he's like, come on, what am I doing? And I might just sort of then pop the tack back on him and just go for a gentle hack on him because he's. But Ditto did a 64. It's a little prep competition because he's got a big competition at the end of May on Exmoor.
Oh, wow.
So he's just done a 64. He's like, upfield. Don't want to see you. Don't want to see you. And my auntie went, he's not right ready for work. He's the last one in. He comes wandering down. He went, I competed last week. I'll tell you when I'm ready. So you read the sort of how he comes in. So she'll take the others in, and she went, then he's wandered down.
So you can literally physically, you can tell if they're eager or not. If they're eager or not, then you know they're ready.
It's listening. You got to say, comes back to that your ride plan. Your ride plan is built up in your training. Don't just go in, right, I need to get my horse fit for that. You've got to listen to your horse. And read the horse. And what's it telling you? And then after the competition, how do they recover?
Again, with the training as well, when you've gone to Qatar, and the temperature difference compared to England obviously is massive. How does that affect the horse at all, or do you have to train for a certain way to do that, or how does that work?
It's a really interesting question, because when we went to Qatar, which was back in the 90s, I just clipped my horse and off we went. But since then, the whole thoroughbred racing, the winter horses in Dubai, there's a lot more research. So when we went out to the World Championships in Abu Dhabi, there's a 10-day window before horses acclimatise.
Right.
So basically we were in and home by day 10.
Right.
Because you don't want the horses to start to acclimatise. So before that, we will come in from the UK, which was cold. So what I did with Crack, because I was then training him over winter, we didn't clip him. So he stayed with his full winter coat, so I could train him with a full winter coat. And we trained him with exercise rugs on. So his body temperature was working all the time. We had that many stable rugs on.
Wow.
So he's a big lad anyway. So we had then quilts and rugs. And so he looked massive. And I think we were going to, I finished clipping him when we got out there.
Yeah.
But I just sort of did under his belly, around his armpits and the tricky bits and the lines.
Yeah.
So when I got out there, because they travel then with no rugs on, which would be cooler.
Yeah.
So I thought I want to keep him with his coat on. So say just before we went, I did all the lines, traced it all out.
Wow.
And then when we got out there, I took the rest of his coat off.
Oh, see, this is. I was trying to think if it's a hot day here and I'm having a run, it's like I'm dying. Like if it's like 3 degrees different or whatever it is. So that's how you do it. So that's a really, really smart way to. Is that like the common way that everybody does it, or is that some? Yeah.
Yeah, I think all the French team. I remember. So the other Brits, well, 2 of the horses were already out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I know the French team, who are sort of multiple gold medal, they all arrived. They're like these little woolly ponies.
Oh, is that what
and then they clipped them all.
Oh, that's genius.
When they got there.
That's
but
amazing.
The heat out there, because I've competed in this country, and Cracker, I knew likes competing in the heat.
Mm-hmm.
We got the high humidity.
Yeah.
Whereas out there, it was very dry heat, so it's not. It was more pleasant.
Yeah.
It did on one of the phases. Cracker was really strong on that phase, but I remember a friend saying, "Just keep moving.
Yeah.
Don't walk because your horse will cook." And we were in between the sand dunes, and I think it got to about over 35, 37 degrees. But I don't mind riding in the heat.
No.
And Cracker was just like loving it.
Yeah, really enjoying it.
Yeah. But I was like, wow, this is hot. You could feel off the sand dunes, the heat just radiating. But then in this country, when it's hot, you've got the high humidity, which is harder. You can feel the horses breathing. So yes, in the Middle East, it was hot, but it didn't affect their breathing. It was where when it's hot over here and you've got the high humidity,
you can't get.
They find it harder to sweat, and your crew are having to work harder.
They're working harder to cool themselves down, aren't they? So how do you train yourself for like because you're going on all 160-kilometer rides and you're obviously training the horses on the beach. Like, do you have to go to the gym? Do you have to run yourself? What do you do to keep in shape and fit for that?
I like walking, and say because I'm still working from home, I'll walk in my lunch. I'll take longer for my lunch, and it sort of just stops me thinking about work, think about horses, what I'm doing for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
But it's a good sort of mental break, but it's good walking. I'll go swimming.
All right. Okay.
Beginning of the year, I joined the gym just for 8 weeks because I'm trying to get the horses fit.
Yeah.
But it's limited because it's still dark at night. I need to be in front of the game because once the clocks move, I've got more time. I'll be more riding.
Yeah.
So I need to get my base fitness back up. And training for horses.
Wow. So
keeps me fit.
I bet it does. But so like again, this is probably when I've ridden, my legs, groin area, very very sore after half an hours of riding. Like, how do you have to do like stretches? Do you have to strengthen it up? Like, what do you do in your lower part of your body? Like, do you have to train?
I think it must be in our family. Maybe we're all bred for endurance riding, and I've done this since I would say I was 13.
Yeah,
and it's not often I've missed a season.
Really.
But my physio, sometimes I'll sort of get tight in my back, and it's usually in competition. The horse is pulled. Because in training, they might just pull a little bit, but you might be sort of running quite competitively, and the horse is pulled more. And I usually, so my physio, so the only worst thing is say I can get tight across my back.
Yeah.
It's usually from like pulling if we're doing a lot of cantering.
Yeah.
Because I ride in GP saddles, I'll tend to be more out the saddle, very sort of, there's different styles of riding endurance. Some people sit in the saddle a lot, but I tend to sort of sit out. And in the different terrain, be different pacing. If it's a very fast ride, so you're doing more cantering.
Yeah.
But say ditto likes the hilly rides, we'd be doing more trotting. So some people, I don't know how you do all that trotting.
I don't know how you do that.
That'd be more on your knees.
Yeah. But how do you feel? Can you walk after a ride like that?
Yeah.
Like you're fine. You're no problem.
Yeah, I'm fine. And what the hardest thing is if we've done a competition, the horse has been quite fresh, pulled a lot, and then we go home that same day. I've not walked it off. Because you see the sort of Tour de France after they've done whatever stage, they're on the bike cooling down.
Yeah.
But usually if we're then done a competition and we're staying that night, you're putting things away, you're walking the horse, you're almost sort of cooling down yourself. But if we go home, and none of my endurance competitions are local, so it might be a 4-hour drive home, and we pull up at home, and I come to get out the car, and I went, oh my God, my legs. It's because I've been sat in the car probably 2 hours after competing. I've had a 4-hour journey back.
Yeah.
And that's when my legs do stiffen up.
And then is there any do you have a recovery routine, or is it just go and have a bath?
Milk.
Chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk. I think, is it a Mo Farah, isn't it? Chocolate milk after a marathon. So I like my chocolate milk, or I sort of have a chocolate flavoured recovery drink. And it's just sort of get that lactic acid from where I've been sat in the car.
Yeah.
Because then it's usually late home.
Yeah.
Sort the horses home to bed.
Yeah.
Because I'm usually shattered.
And then
get up the next morning, my legs are like
and you can't.
Downstairs. I'm like, oh God.
You don't have chicken nuggets before, like Usain Bolt did, do you?
No.
No. Chicken nugget and chocolate milk. It sounds good. But when you're on the ride as well, do you have like any liquids for yourself, or do you wait until you get to the crew, the pit
usually wait to the crew point, or into the sort of the vet gate hold area. Try and drink as much liquids as I can. My husband, what I tend to eat, I'll do a big pot of overnight oats.
Yeah.
Chopped banana in, a couple of blueberries, and I just sort of graze on that. Because I don't want to eat, but I need to eat something.
Yeah.
So I couldn't sit and eat and have a pork pie, or I'd be like, oh no, I can't eat. I don't want to eat anything.
Is that because you don't want the weight on the horse, or is that because you're just too nervous or excited, or?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit nerves, excitement, constant. I just want something I don't have to think about eating, or I might have a little bit of dark chocolate, and that's all I'll have that day. When I finish competing, I eat so much rubbish. You
go for it. But do you have to always, like, again, like with the F1 drivers, they can't go over a certain weight or anything like that. If you're coming up to a big ride like that, do you have like a target weight that you need to get, to make sure that you aren't outbalancing the horse or putting more strain on the horse or anything?
So ideally you need to be fit, balanced, and it's not all about just being super skinny, because you need to be strong. If you're doing the bigger distances, you need to be strong, fit and balanced. And in the international races, I was saying we've got the 3 stars. This is including your saddle. At 2-star, you have to be 70 kilos, including your tack.
So you have to be 70 kilos?
With my tack.
Really?
Yeah. And at 3-star, you have to weigh in at 75 kilos.
No more than that?
You can be more, but that's the minimum you have to be carrying.
Oh, right. So that's the minimum you have to be. Right, I was going to say, because I'd never make it for 70.
So you can be
70 kilos. I thought you meant that was the maximum.
No, you can be any maximum, but you don't want to be way over that.
Yeah.
So that's the minimum. And there's usually lots of debate over this. I'm quite happy. The Arabs are strong, and there's this big debate: what weight should, just generally, how heavy should be any horse? Should it be in relation to the size of the horse, to the weight of the person? But it's a really difficult one to answer, because you could be super light and be an unbalanced, heavy in the hand rider.
Yeah.
You could be heavier and very light.
Yeah.
So it's a very hard question, with the weights. But I don't mind it. The right training, a strong horse, even if it's small, should carry those requirements. And then most fit men with a lightweight saddle will be over the 70 kilos.
Yeah. Well, I'm over 70 kilos without the saddle.
Yeah.
So, I'm fine.
So in endurance for the men, they have specialists. They're tiny little carbon fibre saddles.
Really?
Mm.
So, but and then you're waltzing up with your GP saddles. Like,
Yeah.
No problem for me. That's really, really. But I bet the equipment side of it could just go. It'll go on forever. I imagine. Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's just a minefield.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah. And I slowly keep gathering more and more equipment.
Yeah. No, I bet you do. So we've talked about obviously your training and the horses training and recovery. What about feeding? Like, where do you stand on that? What's your routine?
Yeah. Well, most people in endurance know I feed top spec. They support Team H endurance for many years now. And the reason I started feeding top spec was many years ago. We had a horse that had muscle disease, tying up in competition. And it was really difficult to get the right balance for not tying up. And that's what led me to feeding a balancer and speaking to them as nutritionists. And they supported me and I've stuck with them. And the principle is keep it dead simple.
Yeah.
Not all about complicated. I keep very high fibre, good quality fibre. And our horses have all performed brilliantly off by keeping it. I tend not to overcomplicate it with various supplements. There's no magic powders out there. It's keeping it simple.
Yeah.
But when we're competing, it's a bit of a free for all. So I do when I'm competing. Top Spec do, and a lot of other places do, like mash feeds.
Right.
So I know Top Spec do a linseed and a fibre mash. Our guys love it.
Oh, really?
But so I might do it so it's just like a damp feed or it's quite a watery feed. So they'll come in and they'll drink that. And sometimes they'll want that over a feed.
Really?
But then in the vet gates, especially when you get over to the bigger distances, I have all the feeds as separates. So I'll probably have a fibre nut, a performance nut. Then I'll have a couple of mixes. I quite like putting in a veteran mix. Because often the veteran mixes will be high in protein, very palatable for the older horse, because maybe they've got lacking of teeth. But in a big distance, is the horse going, what do I want to eat? Can't eat nuts. And, so I keep all the feed separate.
Yeah.
And do you want this? Do you want this?
Yeah.
No, I can't eat nuts. Oh, can I have that one? Ooh, what? And so I always, and it just keeps them eating because you need to keep them eating. And we'll take hay, the hay that they have at home. If we're here for a couple of days, they'll have a bale of haylage. Oh, can I have that? So I want to get that fibre into them. If my crews are out at crew points, and this time of year, they'll cut down some bits of cow parsley.
Yeah, it sounds like a proper buffet you've got going here. It's great. It sounds good.
Yeah. I think sometimes my horses, when they're in the vet hold area, so everyone else has got all their little area set up with their feed. My other horse, Married Mr. On, used to think it was all you can eat buffet. And he'd go, I want that. And he would just walk over and went, I want that one there. And it's not yours, mate. And they'll walk, because you'll have your little area set up with all your sort of clean tack and all the feeds and the waters. And as they're walking over, can I have some of that? That looks good.
Yeah.
And
just let me have one. Just one. Just let me try it.
But my friends will walk over and help yourself. Try that feed, because you need your horses to keep eating. And we're very friendly like that. Yeah, try that. Just take a bit. Just help yourself.
Yeah. With a lot of the dressage competitions and stuff, they do like all drug testing and that sort of thing. Is there anything that goes on in your sport that similar to that? Yeah. So what sort of like is there ever been any scandals or anything like that in the sport?
Oh, so it's controversial.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
But no, I've been tested, because you have the BEF at sort of national. So even if you do a pleasure ride at a competitive ride, you're under those rules. Yeah. So they can pull you out and be tested. And at FEI level, you're tested at end of competition.
Oh, everybody is.
Not everybody. If it's a big competition, they'll probably test the first 4 or 5 over the line and then randomly select. It's already been pre-selected. right, the 5th, the 8th or the 10th horse over the line, because you may be eliminated, still no excuse not to get tested.
Yeah.
So if you finish the competition, when you've crossed the line, you don't know, you're busy. Once you've passed that final vetting, as you're then walking out, completely unaware, someone will walk towards you and you'll be like,
yeah.
But then they escort you off to the testing area. I've had this done on both levels previously, and advise anybody in any competition, it's worth reading up because you don't know when that's going to happen. And it's better to be in the know and understand the process because it is quite daunting.
Yeah. It's like when a police officer pulls you over or something. Yeah. It's like, I've not actually done anything, but I still feel a bit nervous. Yeah.
Which sort of might lead us on, because what they do is they take a urine and blood sample. So usually doing the urine has been a bit of a problem because my auntie has taught all our horses to almost wee on command.
Yes, Sue said about this, which we need to talk about.
So often, why do we do that? Is one, it brings heart rate down, and horses trot better than if they had a full bladder.
Really?
So our horses are very confident in peeing. So often when we come off the beach, I'll jump off. When we come off at Fluke Hall, I'll jump off and I'll ditto.
Yeah.
And he'll go, okay. And he'll
do it.
Yeah.
So is that where you click at him and he knows that?
Some people say you can whistle. But within our endurance rules, you have a cooling, you're coming off a phase, you have a cooling area, and your time's still running. And then when you present to vet, your time stops. But if you're in a big race, there may be a bit of a queue. You've got to go to the vet. So effectively, they don't like you stopping if your horse stopped to have a pee.
Yeah.
So it's within the rules that you can't encourage your horse. Because you could have, because we're getting into sort of the rulings now, your horse has got to present at a heart rate of 64. So if you think, I could make my horse wee and hold it back, I could just go in at 70, so you're getting in quicker.
Right.
So there is actually some wording in the international rules that you can't, i.e., you can't whistle.
Really? You can't whistle?
You can't whistle within that area to encourage your horse.
A no whistling zone.
Yeah. It's to stop people encouraging the horses to wee. But you can see it in the hold area. If someone will start whistling with this in the cooling area, and all the in the rest area, there'll be, if it's in a field, they'll put a bale of shavings down. Because often nice fresh shavings, the horse will have a pee, so there'll be that, and everyone will use it. So all the horse, that's for a pee.
I'm just gonna go here.
So it is a very big thing. So at home, my auntie has almost taught them all.
But how do you do that? Do you just sort of catch them when they're going and go?
Yeah,
and then
she'll reward them.
So you click, and then you reward them.
Yeah, and then they'll wait, and then so Cracker's got this down to a fine art. So in the morning when my auntie goes down to the stables, they're like, "Oh, Mum's here, it's breakfast time. I'll have a wee." And Cracker will be like, I'm waiting for mine. So he'll stand and he'll actually wait, and then she'll like, so he'll wait, and then he'll have a tidbit, and then he'll go, "I might have another."
I didn't let it all go. Just make sure I can get another treat.
Yeah,
that's really, really interesting. I did not know that was a thing that was even capable of doing. I didn't think you could trick. Basically, it's a trick, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a trick.
It's a trick.
They all copy. So my auntie's taught them, then they all learn.
Oh, this is what happens.
They're like, he gets a bit of a tidbit. He said, "Wait, I think I'll try that." And then our new one, he's only been with us since November,
and he's got it,
and he's getting it.
That's amazing.
I think by next season, when he's novice, he'll. I've got this.
I might have to try that with one of my dogs. To be fair, she keeps winning in the office. Oh, maybe I have to get your auntie down here to see, see if she can help with it at all.
It's really good when we're coming off course, off a phase, because I can get off. I usually then run in.
Yeah.
It was like last week with Ditto. I thought, I'll just run into the vet check, because we had a vet check at halfway. As soon as I got off, I'll have a wee. And the girl's going, was waiting to time me. What are you doing? Just having a wee. And then literally then we just took the saddle off and his heart rate come down. He went straight into vet.
So if you got to wait with the vet checks, so we talked about it a lot, and you went through a little bit, when you were doing the pony club with the kids. Is it literally, is the vet just checking the heart rate, and is there anything else they check whilst they're in there?
Yeah, so it's sort of if you're doing sort of called the graded ride,
Mm-hmm.
so you go to a vet check before you start.
Mm-hmm.
So you go in, the vet will take the heart rate. It's just got to be below 64, which it should be.
64 beats per minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes the horse might get a bit excited, and often the vets might just say, just have a little walk around, come back.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a novice, or they'll just say 64. It's a bit excited because they're like, wow. Then they'll have a general look over dehydration, feel down the back, muscle tone, girth area, feel down the legs, and then you're asked to trot. And that's just checking for gait or gaits or lameness. And action, really. You might have a horse that's got a peculiar action.
Yeah.
So they got their eye in.
Yeah.
And that's just your basic pre-ride.
Yeah.
Veterinary examination. And that's the same whether you're doing a race ride or a something called time trial, a graded ride.
So that's just to make sure that they're okay to start it. Okay.
And then within the longer distances, you have a midway check. So the further you go, you'll have more checks.
Yeah.
If you were doing a race ride, on your checks, so if you're doing an 8K, you may have 2 or 3 vet gates. So you're coming off a phase, so you'll do 30K, you'll come in off course, cool your horse, tack off. You can present in a head collar or a bridle, depending, that's your choice to do that. Once you present to your vet, your time stops. So effectively, I might have gone into the cooling area second, but I've cooled my horse quicker. And once I present to the vet, I could have been first into vet. So effectively, I'm now in the lead because your time stops. So it's about pacing. You don't want to over push your horse because you've got to present to the vet.
Oh my, I didn't even realise.
So it's a bit like sort of Formula One. You've got to cool your horse, check its feet, and then get to the vet. So once you present to the vet, they'll record the time to vet. So you have slightly different rules whether you're international or national.
Yeah.
So you've got 20 minutes, say, to present to the vet.
Yeah.
So in you go. There's no queue. You go straight into the vet. So you've got to be calm yourself and your horse, and they'll take the heart rate. And then they'll go, right, if you'd failed, it gets a bit complicated. If you were over 64, you have to leave and you can represent. Because people are presenting within like a minute and a half. So ideally, you want to present bang on 64. You don't want to be waiting 8-9 minutes and going in at 48.
Because you might lose your place.
You're still, your time it's your time. So you need to get in. This is why you need a really good crew, know your horse.
Yeah.
If you're really smart, kill your horse, you go in at 68.
Yeah.
And you walk to the vet. Quick chat to your vet.
Yeah.
Find Dillian. And then you'll say your heart rate's 63, and then he'll say you trot. So you trot your horse back, and then they actually take a second heart rate.
In that mid check.
So take the heart rate, you'll trot your horse, you come back.
Yeah.
When you start trotting, it's a minute. So you come back and you may have like 20 seconds remaining. You stand your horse and they don't take that second heart rate until that time's elapsed. So the reason behind that is they've taken one heart rate, say it's 62. You've trotted your horse, you've come back, horse is stood. That heart rate should be the same or lower. It's showing the horse is recovering. If suddenly after that trot, the heart rate's gone to 70 or 78, could be 80, that would be alarm bells ringing for that vet. And the chances are, if it goes, so you've passed at 62,
Yeah.
but after you trot, you come back,
And if it's higher,
and then it's shot up its spite, the chances are you ain't going any further because you would be out on what they call metabolics. So your horse is sound, but metabolically there's something going wrong.
That's internally there's something not right.
So you're not allowed to carry on. The horse is tired.
Right. So they've built essentially the vet checks into the competition, which is amazing because then it makes sure that the welfare of the horse actually comes first and is the main priority of it. Well, that's awesome. And then what about you've got your beginning, your mid, and then is the final one obviously at the end of the race. Usually that's what happens when it's final.
So when you've passed that, you know your horse is sound, the heart rate, they look over metabolically, muscle tone back, legs, sort of look at the mouth, mucous membranes. Then you leave that and then you go into a hold, which is usually about 40 minutes where you feed. So then we might have 5 of these vet checks. If you're doing a 160, you'll have 5 of these vet checks. And then the final one, you'll go in, but your heart rate has to be under 64. You don't have a second go at this. It's got to be 64. And all 3 vets will watch your horse trot. So to make it fair, the vets can't influence each other.
All right.
They can't go. I think that's so technically a ground jury member gives them a slip of paper.
Yeah.
And the ground jury member say, trot your horse, you'll trot, come back. The vets have the choice to say, could I see you trot again? But the vets put the
notes down,
mark, and then hand it in to make it fair.
Yeah.
And then the grand jury member will give you the result. Hopefully it's a pass.
Yeah. Wow, that sounds. I feel panicked that you've just taken me through that procedure, that routine for it.
You've got to stay very calm because horses. They're saying that's why I don't like being sad in front of my horse.
Yeah.
If you're anxious, and I have come unstuck there once before. I had it. Sometimes they like to see your horse again. You may you pass the vet check, but in the bigger distances, they like to see you before you go back out on course.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm ready for this next bit. And I get a bit, and my horse is going, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah.
And they pick up on me. So you have to be very, I say a good endurance rider is a very calm.
Very calm.
Because you're riding for such a long period of time. You can't be a high energy person. You've got to be quite
relaxed,
calm.
And calm.
Your horse can't cope with that high energy. You've got to control yourself.
Well, they do feed off you. They do feed off you. They feed off you massively.
You've got to be. So sometimes I look quite, when I'm competing, I'm in the zone.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, Linda's really like, has Linda passed the vetship? But I'm just in the zone.
Yeah.
With sort of like the in tune with my horse. I'm not getting sidetracked. What everyone else is up to. Me and my auntie have got our ride plan. We're sticking to it.
Yeah.
Our ride plan might be we're riding competitively, so it's not all structured. We're riding to win this race.
Yeah. So for anybody out there who's watching this now, if they see you and you look a bit miserable, it's not because you're upset. Yeah, it's just that you're just in the zone. It's nothing to do with you. It's nothing personal. Okay. So going back to also the feeding of it, like I've heard. Again, I don't know if this is true or not. Like you shouldn't feed your horse before riding, or is there any myths that you've sort of gone, no, that's absolute. It's not what I do, not necessarily nonsense, but that's not what I do.
That's definitely a myth. We feed ours. Horses are grazers, so at home we'll bring ours in to a sort of fibery feed and tack up and ride.
Yeah.
When we're competing. If it's a day competition, we'll arrive because they may have been travelling for 2 or 3 hours. Make sure if we're in a field, let them eat grass.
Yeah,
I want them to set off with grass because they may not have eaten a lot of hay in the journey. They need a belly of food. I'll probably mix up a sloppy feed, let them off for that. Doesn't bother me. They can have the bucket of feed, and the principle behind that is. The stomach acid and the splashing, say if they've not eaten in the trailer for an hour because they're a bit nervous on the journey. So you need that feed when we're competing. If we're at a lower competition, we get to the crew car, no problems. let them have a feed.
They're excited. They see the car.
Well, Cracker would just stay at the car all day. Take it off him.
He'd stay at the buffet all day.
Yeah, he would. Or we'll have sugar beet water. At home, they're sort of on the speedy beet, which is the sort of lower sugar end, but competing, we have full strength sugar beet, and they love it.
I bet they do.
So that's a very watery. But they know their own mind. Sometimes they'll be like, I want sugar beet today. Sometimes they're like, no, I just want water.
Yeah.
So we let them, and it could just be a floppy feed. So no, if they want to eat,
they eat.
Let them eat.
So you literally you sounds like you give them the choice, like from all the different selections that you've got, you give them the choice of what they need or want to a point.
Yeah. And which I tell Cracker everything in moderation.
Yeah.
But if they're eating, they're going to keep going. I think if they're not eating, something's wrong. What they're trying to tell you, something's your day's going to be cut short.
And so, would you see that as a bit of a warning sign if they're not eating?
Yeah, in my bigger distances, they've got to eat.
Yeah.
You're not going to survive the day.
So it's little things like that that you also need to be aware of and keep on top of.
Yeah, got to eat, got to drink.
Yeah,
drinking's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
but if they're taking on sloppy feeds, but we teach all this when they're at novice level. There's an all-you-can-eat buffet there because they don't know what we've got planned for them.
No.
So if we teach them, and we allow all our horses to drink in puddles on competitions, and so my more experienced horse will go, I prefer this because it's rainwater.
Yeah.
Because you may get to a competition, they don't like that tap water.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
That's sensitive with it. Like, no, I'm not drinking
I don't want that tap water. I don't like that tap water from that hard tap area.
Wow.
So I always teach my horses, and they'll teach the young ones, yeah, you can drink.
Yeah. Amazing.
And when I'm in tune with my horse, I know when we were in France in October, it had rained quite a lot, so quite a few puddles, and was cantering along, and I could see Noor looking at this puddle, and I could feel him pulling himself up. Yeah. Drop my hands, what do you want to do? Massive drink.
Yeah.
And my friend Jill was riding with, she went, why didn't we like you stop? So, no, I just wanted to drink.
Yeah.
And he drank, and he's confident enough to just keep talking to him. You okay, boy? You okay? Because he's going, where's my mate? And then lift his head up, straight back into canter. So this not allowing him to drink, he had a massive drink, and then straight back into canter.
Again, this is only just coming to my head now. Like, obviously, you're saying here you're riding 160 kilometers. Like, do you ever get anybody going like, that's far too long for a horse? Like, why are you doing that? Like, do you have that other side of it? Because in my opinion, I think it's fantastic. What an amazing feat that you can do. But do you ever get the other side of it?
I think there's more now going, that's far too, the speeds they're doing, or if you ride slower, it's longer. To me personally, probably haven't seen my horses.
Yeah.
And it takes years to train to that level. So I think the people are saying, oh, that's far too far.
Yeah.
Don't fully understand the sport.
Yeah.
And the relationship between the horse and rider. Because endurance riding came from America.
Yeah.
And there's still the big rise in America. There's one called the Tevis, which is a linear 100-mile route, which is sort of part of the old sort of gold rush route.
Really?
Sort of real iconic. Oh. Every horse rider's dream is to do it.
Oh.
But
you get the other side of it. But it's probably just...
And that's... They get riders from all over the world. I can't remember how many years it's run.
Yeah.
But that's grown in popularity.
Yeah.
I think it's people who don't understand the sport.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's like I didn't even realize, like when Sue was on here and talking to, mentioned you, and she said you do 160 kilometers. I was like, wow. My initial thought was, wow, that's amazing. My second one was, how do you train to do that? My third thought was, I get tired driving 160 kilometers. How would you do? But this is by the time the checks that you guys do, the preparation that you put in. Clearly, the horse obviously comes first. And they're clearly very, very well looked after during and before and after.
With Ditto, the big 4x4 one, he's tackling his first 160 in a day.
Yeah.
Because he likes the hilly rides.
Yeah.
There's one up in Scotland over the Cairngorms, and that's the linear.
Yeah.
So my preparation for that, I think now he's mentally ready.
Yeah.
I know he's physically ready. He's got a couple more rides to do to bring him up to that fitness. But for my preparation, it's last year they run a trail ride. So it was 4 days over that course. So I took another horse. So they have it as a holiday. It's a bit of a fundraiser.
Love it.
So they raise funds in order to put this ride on. So we took another horse. So I've ridden probably 75 miles of that route.
Wow.
So I know what to expect. My husband came with me. It was very much a social event. We rode 25 miles each day.
Yeah.
So I know the terrain. That's helped me do more target training. Is Ditto ready? He's ready.
He'll do it.
And that's in July.
Oh, well, good luck for it. Oh, good luck. You've like loads of fun though, by the sounds of it. It sounds amazing. I noticed you had a bit of a royal encounter. Can you tell us a little bit about that and who it was you encountered?
Yes. Well, it was last year at Royal Windsor Horse Endurance. I met King Charles, which was totally out of the blue. I'm mid-competition.
You didn't have your concentration face on when you saw him.
I think it was my shock face. No, I had my muddy face. So yeah, last year at Royal Windsor, they have 3 international competitions, and then they also put on a graded ride, which suited my ride plan because early season, quite a few of the competitions had been cancelled because it had been wet, and I needed Ditto to do a qualifying ride in order to go to the Golden Horseshoe. So fit with our plans. So put an entry in just for the 80 graded. Nice little walk in the park.
Yeah.
The weather was horrendous.
As it is.
So, but I thought, well, Ditto come from Wales. He'll be fine in the rain. So it's 80k. It'll be 3 phases. So off we went, rode with my friend. It was pretty grim out there.
Yeah.
So coming to the first vet check, so Ditto does his trot, and as we finished, the vet said, yeah, you've passed. And I saw one of the officials walk over, and she went, "Oh, Linda, could we just have a word?" And I'm like, so she moves me to the side of the vetting area, and then so she's one of the ride organisers. Then as he's walking towards me is a gentleman called Brian Dunn, and he's on the FEI Grand Jury. And I was thinking, this is serious. Why is he walking towards me?
You think you've done something wrong? Or
yeah, I'm thinking, I've done the right course. What have I done wrong? What's gone wrong? What's happened? So they went, could you just step outside the vetting area? I was thinking, sheer panic. I think I must have my game face on. And they went, I'd like to ask a favour. I'm in competition. They went, would you be prepared to meet King Charles? And part of me was a bit like, why? And I went, yeah, of course. Why? And he went, because I always knew at Royal Windsor, there's a member of the royal family turn up because the endurance is sponsored by the Bahrainis. So they usually have a big marquee, and we get quite a lot of the Bahraini and UAE riders coming over. So they sort of moved me over towards this marquee, and they passed me over to all the tight security. So it had been raining. I was actually riding in my Toggy Team GB waterproof coat. I've still got my riding hat on. I've got my chaps, my boots, which are full of mud. So they sent me into this they have a big marquee. So I went up the steps. Then one gentleman passed me over to, this is the lady, and there's loads of people up there. No King Charles at this point. And then he passed me over. And I'm getting up there. They open these marquee doors, and the heat. So I'm wet and cold. I've got a waterproof coat on. The heat hits me, and my nose starts running. And I'm like, I need a tissue. I thought, what am I going to do? Anyway, I managed to find some tissues. So then someone had a quick sort of debrief chat with me, and I managed to sort of gain, what do I say? What do I curtsy? What do I call him? So they give me a sort of bit of a lowdown. Yes, you can curtsy. I didn't say, how do you curtsy? I've never curtsied before, but I was like, I think I had a little practice. And then they were at the far end of the market, there were a lot of people, which I then worked out, I think after the king had been, there must have been a sort of charity luncheon. Because I got chatting to a couple of charity people. I think there was 2 ladies from Dementia UK.
Yeah.
So they're obviously after they'd been there was all the marquee was open. There was a big luncheon with King Charles and probably members of the Bahraini.
Wow.
So I kept getting passed one person to another. They're obviously waiting the fine tune to when King Charles arrives. And then someone come and brought me to the front. I'm still there in my waterproof coat. I'm thinking, I'm keeping my hat on. And then it's just this silence. Obviously, he's arrived. You could tell the atmosphere changed.
Yeah.
And then King Charles obviously arrived, spoke to Simon Brooks-Ward, who's the event organizer for the horse show, and I think a lot of other royal events.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was sort of brought forward. So I said my hello. I did a little curtsy. And then we sort of did our introductions, and he sort of asked me what I was doing. We had a chat, and then Simon Brooks-Ward turned us round. And that's when it hit me. The press was just lined up. And I was like...
And you were there with mud on your face.
Yeah.
And oh, no.
So someone did say to me, you look really confident. You're looking up like that. And I was like, I didn't dare look down. I couldn't look down. So sort of Simon brought a map, a sort of bit of a prop, and we had a really good chat.
Yeah.
And looking at the pictures, I had him in absolute stitches.
Really?
I was sort of saying, he was sort of asking what it's like riding an Arab out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, the going's really wet.
Yeah.
And I do apologise for making a mess of your park. And I just thought, the Arabs adapt to it. Yes, they're lightweight, but they just adapt.
Yeah.
And then he asked which my horse was, which was quite easy to spot because I was on Big Ditto, who was like stomping round the vet gate, and my husband's trying to hold on to him. And I went, that one. So I think one of the pictures is King Charles doing that bit like the Alan Sugar, you sacked. He was like, is that your horse? And I was like, yes, that's my horse.
Amazing.
And we had a really good chat about, I thought we were laughing about, he was saying, yes, nowadays, all your show jumping's on prepared surfaces. Mm-hmm. And he obviously must have jumped back in the day with Simon Brooks-Ward. And he went, yeah, do you remember this competition? It was knee deep in mud. So I was listening to the sort of interaction they were talking about when they were jumping, when they were lads. So it was a really good conversation.
Yeah.
Because I would say completely out of my comfort zone, but I went, I've got one chance of this.
Yeah.
Go for it. And then I was like, how does this end? Do I walk away? Do you turn your back on the king? So I just thought I could see Simon was trying to end it. Yeah. I think Zara Phillips was waiting to come in.
Oh, right.
So she was the next in. So it's not a bad cue to be in.
I was going to say, you're part of a good group there.
Yeah. So I sort of backed up a bit, and I could see Simon take King Charles away. And I thought, well, I'll wait till someone will grab me and say, sling you up. So I sort of stepped back, and there was an Arab gentleman in a suit. So I was having a chit chat to him. Yeah. And he went, anyway, you must be getting back soon. So I obviously knew a little bit about the competition because I was in my whole period.
Yes.
So I think I need to be getting back. So I had a little chat with this gentleman. Yeah. Went back in my competition. And I think one of the stewards said, look, if your time's elapsed, we'll just credit it. It's a really good excuse. Yeah. Yet needed to have a chat to the king.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
But my crew were great. They had him ready. So I literally ran back down on my mountain block and away. And I think I was a couple of kilometres in. So I was riding with my friend Lauren. I went, I can't just believe that. Yeah. I went, what? Just what?
That's amazing.
Was that about?
Amazing.
So anyway, because it had been so wet, my phone was in my pocket and it had stopped working. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Thought nothing of it. Finished the rest of the ride, and people were going, I can't believe that. Oh my God, the king was here. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I know. So we finished, and I managed to sort of dry my phone out.
Mm-hmm.
My phone sprung into
How did it
life.
go mad?
And we were on the news.
Really?
So it was on all the main channels. My stepdaughter messaged me and she said, "You're in okay online."
You're joking.
And I was like, why was it such a big thing? And someone said to me later, it was the first public engagement since King Charles's cancer diagnosis.
Exactly.
So it was the first sort of public. That's why all the press.
Amazing.
So truly amazing.
What an experience. That's really, really cool.
And then to top it, I mentioned I was chatting to this Arab gentleman.
Yeah.
I think on the Sunday, this picture appeared because in my competition, a sheikh was riding, Sheikh Nasser.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He's our current endurance world champion.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know him personally, but great athlete.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing the 80K with his children.
Oh, right. Okay.
So give his children the due.
Yeah.
They were quite young, and to ride around Great Windsor Park in the rain.
Fair play to
80K, great. So they then got an award with the dad the following day at the awards ceremony. And in there's the Arab gentleman. So I said to my friend, "Who's the guy?" He went, "Oh, that's Sheikh Nasser's older brother. That's the Crown Prince of Bahrain."
Oh, right.
So I was just doubling it up here.
Jeez, wow. So you met double royalty in one day.
Yeah.
Wow. And you just casually chatting to him Wow, what an experience.
So endurance opens doors to meet some amazing people.
Clearly. Yeah. Wow, what an experience that is. Was King Charles asking any particular questions or just general sort of chit chat?
General chit chat.
Yeah.
He was saying I think you've been gifted Arabians or numerous Arabians from people. And he went, "I do ride them occasionally, or used to." He went, and he asked, how are they handling the mud? They just adapt.
Yeah, no problem.
These horses are competitive. They just crack on.
Wow, what a highlight.
It was.
What a highlight. That's fantastic.
That will stay with me forever. And
I bet. Well, this is it. That's like, wow.
Yeah. Never quite made the lunchtime news before. I think there's people like, what?
But it's so good because it does also levels up the sport as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's wow. Well, my next question was going to be, after I know you've met the king now, so there's not much else. But what is the plan for the future? What have you got planned? Anything exciting you can share with us, or?
Yeah. Well, I say I want to get our up and coming international horse. I want to do the ultimate 160, getting qualified, maybe see how good he is until I've asked those questions for a future team horse. And I think he's got the makings of it. Just need not a bit of bad luck. So I'll try him again at a 3-star in August. Big Ditto. He's going to try a 160, but a sort of a national competition up in Scotland to do the Cairngorms.
Yeah, in July, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got a novice for next year, so I'll carry on just sort of. He's got the big wild word. He needs to man up a little bit. He's a bit of a drama queen at the moment, and just So he'll sort of latch on and hack out with us and sort of see the big wide world.
Amazing.
And sort of in June, not competing, but I'm going out to support my friend at the Europeans, which I'm sure she'll get picked for the British team. So I'm going out to crew her and support her.
Wow.
Which I'm looking forward to.
I bet.
And again, I'll gain some more experience, even though I'm not competing, but at championship level, might pick up different training ideas.
I love that. I love that. No, it is. Again, you've got just basically we've been talking for just today. I've only just met you, but you can definitely tell like clearly how passionate you are. And, you know, the fact that you just said then you're going to go to the championship and I might pick up something, like, you're really excited. And what's really great is that you're totally open to it. Like, anything, like, I'll listen to everything.
Yeah.
You know, okay, depends what you actually apply, but it's really great that you have that open mind. And that's probably
you've got to keep learning.
Definitely.
Got to keep learning, but don't get over ambitious. You still got to respect your horse. So ideas change in training, but the horse is still the horse.
Yeah.
You got to,
yeah.
You might change it. Just always respect the horse and don't over ask. And there's always another day.
I think you've got an amazing attitude towards it, and I think that's what's really got you to the level that you are. Obviously, no, it is fantastic, and I know we could sit here all day, continue talking about loads of the things.
I can talk about horses.
Yeah, but it's good. It's maybe you can clearly see the passion about it. But today, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you would have liked to have brought up or mention or?
So there's one other. So they're all my horses special, but there was one horse that I mentioned about Siberia back in the 90s. There was another horse, Maraday Mr. Ronnie. He was really impressive horse, and we took him, we backed him, took him through novice, open, advanced, and it was my first horse I took abroad and competed successfully. We took him over to the Netherlands to a 3-star. We raced in for 3rd place, and he won. The first 2 were in, and there was 3 of us together. I saw an opportunity. So it wasn't in my plan, but I saw a safe opportunity, and he raced for the line for 3rd. But he was a really quirky horse, really nervy and quirky on the ground. He could be gone in a flash, but if we tacked him up and I rode him, he'd take on anybody, and he was so special.
Yeah, love that.
And so that was, I think it was back in 2012.
Yeah,
I come up with a crazy plan. Because it's funny, if it was from the year before, we'd entered a 3-star. He was ready for it, and I got eliminated pre-ride vetting because of his quirkiness.
Oh, right.
He was just, he wouldn't let the vet look in his mouth to do mucous membranes. He went, oh. And it just spiraled out of control.
Yeah.
And I was disqualified.
Oh.
Because he misbehaved. He wouldn't let the vet complete the examination. So that was heartbreaking. I'd spent years, and I was like, will we ever come back from this? How there's training, but I didn't see this coming. It was the excitement of this big event, and he was just having none of it. He spat his dummy out that day.
Yeah.
So regrouped, and we just sort of dropped down competition level for the rest of that season. So in 2012, I went, right, let's go abroad. Let's just go somewhere different. And I got this series of events. So if you start early, we do this. And so you get points for, there's rankings for top riders, top horses, but they're all the professionals. I'm very much amateur. I've got to go to work to pay for these horses. But they have a combination rankings. So we did quite a few FEI rides. I think we did 5 in total, including 2 3-stars where you get extra points, and he was placed.
Oh, wow.
So they gathered the points together. And I never forget this. We were going out, and my auntie rang me and said, they've updated all the points. You're number 1.
Really?
So we were number 1 in the FEI combination rankings.
Oh, my God.
And I'm from that crazy little unbacked ginger Anglo-Arab. We took him to number 1 in the world.
How did you feel?
It was just... I'm glad I stuck with him, because there were sometimes I'd ended up in hospital a couple of times with him when he was younger. He was a real quirky, but it's that bond. And when I was on his back, he'd take on the world. And he was truly amazing. And then to get that, eventually I think we finished 3rd, because the world rankings keep running to the end of the year. So then the Southern Hemisphere kick in, and the Middle East.
Yeah.
So they overtook me on the points. But at the stable yard, I've got a laminated copy. So when it's bad, when the chips are down, so it's not sort of an ego thing, it's when the chips are down. I remember the journey with that horse, and I look down who was below me, and I think there's like Sheikh Mohammed when he rode, when he was world champion, he's about 8th in the list. And I went, what a combination of top riders.
Yeah.
So when it's bad, when you've got a lame horse, when the weather's bad, I walked past that and I went, no, that'll always be there. Ronnie will always was number one for a time.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. No, that's this is your attitude towards it again. It's you know, okay, you had disappointment in that period, and then you got to number one with him anyway. And I think if you could pass on anything, if you could like take that out of you and put it into everybody, that'd be the one thing that I take out of you is your attitude and your passion with it. It is fantastic, and I'm really happy that we actually got to have this conversation, because I didn't realize that how much went into the endurance riding and how much preparation, how much care, how much mental preparation you have to do physically, and it's my hat is off to you.
It's all consuming, but it was really, really reward. And the reward, it's not about the money or the rosette, it's a personal achievement.
Racing against yourself, basically.
Yeah.
No, and that's the best way to be.
Yeah.
Because that way, even if you don't come first or whatever it is, as long as you've done what you wanted to do, then you win. It's great. No, but thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and thank you so much for sharing your stories and your experiences and all your training.
I've enjoyed sharing it. Yeah, I was nervous to start with, but I've enjoyed sharing what knowledge I've got.
No, it is, and clearly a vast amount of knowledge, and honestly, you're really, really, really amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.